All right, so let's talk about content pillars. Now, this is the beginning of your content ideation process, right? And this is what I was talking about just now, where you have to create your own process, right? But the first thing, and guys, there's a document I'm going to share with you because I laid out kind of like 6 steps to your content ideation process. So that that document will be in the drive right after class because it's already done. So the first thing I did, and I'm just going to use me as an example, was I had to figure out, okay, what do I want to talk about? What is my brand about, my business about? What do I want people to know about my brand or my business? What is the expertise that I have that I want to share with people? And then how can I turn that into money, right? So the first thing is to understand content pillars and what content pillars are. And content pillars are like themes that around your business, right? So themes that you are going to focus your content on, right? And what it does for you is that it guides your content creation process, and it ensures that your content stays on brand and that it is always relevant to your audience who is telling you what they want to see when they want to see it, right? But remember that persons who follow you. Say, for instance, I started a page about dog grooming, which is a very popular genre on like YouTube and TikTok, right? I started a page about dog grooming or animal grooming. And that's why somebody followed me, because people follow you because whatever you are talking about or whatever your profile is about, they're interested in that. They're not gonna follow you if they're not interested, unless it's your dad, like my father followed me everywhere. Right? But they follow you because they're interested in that particular topic. So what your responsibility to them is to make sure that you are giving them that, right? So you have to make sure that your content stays on brand and relevant. You'll never see Nike talking about or selling toothpaste on their platform, right? And so some of the other things that having content, some of the other reasons why you need content pillars is because, one, it helps you establish your brand authority. Why? Because you are talking about the things that you are expert in, that you have some more developed knowledge in. Let's put it that way, because you become like the leader of your community, the Pied Piper kind of thing, right? Where they're depending on you to give them the information because they start trusting that you know what you're talking about, right? And so they depend on you for the information. And that's how you start establishing your authority in the industry, your authority over this particular subject matter, or the subject matters. It could be more than one, right? And that's what that helps you to do, because if you're talking about something over and over in different ways and you're explaining different parts of it, blah, 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 persons are going to start. This is how you become an expert in a particular thing. That's how expertise works, that's how you become an expert in it. I saw something somewhere the other day that says, if you can explain a concept to somebody, explain it in such a way where anybody can understand it, even a 2-year-old or an 80-year-old, then you're an expert in the topic. And I think there's some legitimacy to that. Because you're establishing your authority, what you're also doing is you're educating your audience, right? Say you're a skincare line, right? I think one group in here have a skincare thing called Skin Hub. Say you're Skin Hub, I think that's what it's called. And you want to talk to your clients. And there was another group on Monday who presented about, which I loved, was the one where you could, put your own ingredients together for your own skincare. You would then need to educate your audience about what these products are, how these products work, what they're going to do for your skin, how you should use them. You are teaching your audience how to use your product or your services for maximum or for optimal efficiency. So they must say, but that means that it never worked because you did not use it how it was supposed to. That's why Neutrogena have a skincare system. So you have the toner, you have the face wash something, and then you have this other sorted. It's 3 in the system. And they put the number on the back of them. Number 1, number 2, number 3. So you have to use it. But we only buy the face wash and not the other stuff. I go, but this not work because it's a system, right? And so you have to educate your audience how to use your products and services for optimal efficiency. And so they can't say, well, it doesn't work, right? It showcases your brand because you're focusing in, you're zooming in on these particular topics, right? You are using that to showcase your brand, right? And what do I mean? For instance, you're doing some behind the scenes videos, right? Hey guys, today we're talking about how we're making skincare products for anti-aging, saggy under eyeballs thing, right? Okay. And so what while you're doing that, you're telling them, and guys, we only use the best 100% animal cruelty-free, organic, Jesus-blessed ingredients, right? And that come from the Himalayan mountains of Northeast Asia. So you're showcasing your brand to people. You're showing off your brand to say, hey, this is why we're good. And this is why one little sitting saw costs $50 million. Because it's from the Himalayan mountains and it was made by Italian grandmothers in their kitchen. Right? It builds trust and deepens loyalty. And that's important, right, guys? There's nothing worse than losing the trust of your clients as a brand. When you go tell them, say it X in it and it don't have the X. You know who does that all the time? The natural hair community that tell people that Jamaican black castor oil is in ingredients and it is in there in such a minuscule quality that it not going to make one quarter difference to your thirsty head. Right? They do it all the time. Because they know that Jamaican black castor oil is a popular ingredient. And so everybody have Jamaican black castor oil in their product. When I let not in there, or it's in there in such small quantities that it doesn't make a difference, right? And so you have to make sure that, you know, you're building trust with your audience, and knowing what areas to focus on will help you to do that. It answers buyers' questions as well. Because if you have people asking us a lot, so it's so expensive. Again, Italian grandmothers from the Himalayan mountains in Northeast Asia. It's expensive to fly these ingredients in, guys, okay? I personally went to the Dead Sea and collected pink salt to put in this. And that's why it's so expensive. So what you're trying, and this is just generally, your content is supposed to be answering buyers' questions. Before they ask it, you need to be addressing or answering questions that you know they're going to ask. You see this whole thing about not putting your prices on your thing? Guys, that's a part of answering the question before they ask it. It's a part of helping them with their decision-making process. Because if I'm looking for pink slippers or pink sandals or stiletto pink sandals, and I come across your page and it have a nice pair of stiletto pink sandals and it have no price on it, and you tell me for DM you for the price, why would I DM you for, why you never just put it right there? Why you're giving you extra things to do and you're going to lose a sale, because what you don't want to do is give buyers unnecessary things to do, give them extra steps to take what they don't need to take. You need to, and this is another pro tip, guys. The fact that they're coming on your page and asking means they're at the point where they're making a decision about buying. And that's your funnel. That's in your funnel. So they're further down in the funnel. And this is the thing. People think that when we talk about funnel, it means person start from the top and go all the way down. No, a person can enter your funnel at any point of that funnel, right? So say they're at the decision-making point of that funnel and they come across your page and see the slippers with no price and barely any description. How are you helping me? How are you helping me make a decision? Because when I come by your price, come by your page, you have my size, I know the price, you have my color, and you can deliver instant decision. Why am I go any further? I don't need to look no further. The search is over. I don't need to look no further. When I go DM and says, I need this. No, please, thank you. That's what I should be DMing you to say. Not for the price. We're going to take 2 days to answer me. I'm going to need the slippers today. Right? So your content needs to be answering your buyers, especially their most pressing questions or questions that you get asked over and over and over again. Right? And it's about lead generation and sales too, because all those things before will lead to lead generation and eventually lead to sales, especially the answering buyers' question and the showcasing your brand value, right? All right. All right. So let's talk about identifying key or head terms. And don't make the title for you. All I'm saying is you're identifying the words or like phrases that is most associated with your brand, right? So content key or head terms, what it is it zooms in on one or more areas, usually around your brand expertise and related topics, because I'm not saying because you're only talking about, under eye cream that you can't talk about skincare generally, because it's a part of skincare. So you can talk about related topics, but when you're gone off to start talking about something else when I have nothing to do with skincare, you lose your audience, right? So these are the areas that you're going to consistently focus your content on. And it's going to help you to develop content because you know exactly what you're going to be talking about. You know the areas, you're going to stay in your lane. This is your lane, right? It can be any number of topics, but ideally, you want about 5 or 10 strong areas, the areas that you're most strongest in, most knowledgeable in, the areas that are more related to your brand, right? And from those 5 or 10 areas, you can develop multiple pieces of content, right? And that's what we want to do. And so you're going to consider your key terms or your head terms and your content pillars as your idea generation bank or center. And once you now have your resources, you have identified what your resources are going to be, and you put all of those in one place, you can literally go to that space and just pull content ideas and create from there. And I literally mean a bank. And this is what I did. I created a Google folder. And in that Google folder, I have a content calendar, I have my task scheduler, I have my document that is outlining my head terms, my content pillars, my honor. And then I have different resources. So I have a resource list. So I know that I get my news source from like TechCrunch and The Verge or from trusted news sources. I know what those news sources are. But what I've also done is I have created bookmarks. So every single piece of tool or software that I use that is web-based is bookmarked. And I'm going to show you guys. And so every time I am wanting to build something, do something, I go and I look at my bookmarks, because then I always create a plan first of what I'm going to do. I'm a planning person. That's kind of my personality. And so I have a general concept of what I want to do. And then I go and look at my content bank. What's in my content bank? What are the resources? Because I would have dropped like stuff like different pieces. You know what? It's easier if I show you. Let me show you my desktop. I think that's easier for me. Let me share my desktop with you guys, so you guys see what I'm talking about. This is my Chrome desktop, yeah? So you guys notice I have, up here is my bookmark. Now, this bookmark called marketing. I have bookmarked literally every tool. And in here, you're going to find tools where I can find PNG images, illustrated images, stock photos, just so many things. The Gary V content model. So if I come across something that's interesting like that, I will bookmark it here. It's all in my marketing stuff, because this is where I go to for idea generation as well. I go in there and I look at it, I see what's there. And if I kind of have an idea of something that I want to talk about, post, design, I especially use this for designing, right? I go here first. Let me show you one of my biggest resources that I'm going to use. So I've animated icons from Icons 8. and you can get some free animated icons just to really elevate your presentations or elevate your post. But I mostly use the illustrations from Icons 8, like this here. So, and what I do is I come in and I look at the different stuff. No, these guys are free, right? And I come in and I kind of look at different styles, and it kind of helps me to say, okay, this is what I want the design to look like, etc. And then I download them and I use them in my design. So the tools are similar. So these are actually software tools to either make something or shortcuts to something or code, because I do website development. And so I have CSS codes. I find CSS codes all over the internet and I tag them here, so it's easy for me to find. Hex to RGB is probably one of my most used things, especially in Canva, guys. If you are ever wanting a specific color for something, this is a handy tool, and it's going to flop me this morning. Don't flop me this morning. So guys, if, say for instance, you see a color and you love the color, this is what I usually do. So this tool here, so, is a color dropper, right? And what it usually allows, well, I can't pick from this art. Let me go to this page and show you. So I can pick a color from here and I just over it, and the color is here. So when I see a color that I like, I just use my color picker and I can keep it, I can save it in my color thing here, or I can print it as a CSV, and now I have all the hex values, which usually begins with a hashtag, or the RGB value. So when I'm in Canva or in PowerPoint, I know what the values are for the colors that I want. Guys, this is my system. So this is what I mean about creating a system that you're gonna use. So all my tools, crafts is kind of the same thing. But crafts is more of a personal thing. But when it comes to designing and content generation, my tools folder, my tools bookmark, and my marketing bookmark, guys, I have over 1,000 bookmarks, and I know what all of them are, believe it or not, because I use them so regularly. And this started happening, guys, because again, I don't know how to use Photoshop. I don't care. My space is a Photoshop free space because of my mental health. Okay. And so I had to learn how to then use different tools to get me the same kind of results that I wanted, because I didn't want to lower the quality of my work, but I wanted that same kind of really nice high-end looking thing. And so that's what I did with all these tools. Now it takes you longer, but I'm fine. At least we don't have to do mathematics to create one post. I'm good with that. Right, guys? Here's another tool that I use, guys, and I want to show you my design folder. It's called Digital Jamaica Graphics. So what I do is I create templates. I am the queen of templates. Okay, I create templates. And so I either create the template in PowerPoint or I create the template in Canva. And what that allows me to do is, and I'll show you, where are some of my templates? I have an Instagram template. Now I have two Instagram sizes. I have the 4x1 and I have the 1x1. So I want to show you Instagram 1080. This is the standard graphic. Now this is an old one. I don't use this anymore, but this is how I created the templates. I want to show you one that I use now. So you guys can kind of see. Let me go to my old drive. And let me go to my old graphics folder. Here we go. There's a lot more in here because this is the old one. Okay, Insta story 1080 by 1350. Okay. So this is my template slide, guys, and this is how I create. Now they're kind of jumbled because some of the fonts that I would use, that I had used before, they're no longer my system. But guys, can you believe I created this? Right? This was all created. I know my OCD is going to take over. This was created all in Photoshop. So this is my this was my podcast covers, right? This is how I created podcast covers. And I had one for story and I had one for, you know, normal stuff. So this is what I did. Now, all of this, guys, is in one folder, and that folder is a part of my content bank. And so I put my templates in there, put my all my other stuff in there. So when I want to find it, I can find it. You guys are not seeing? Frozen and icon, it G's and peace just like yesterday. Eraldo, your video is on. Please turn your videos off. Okay, you guys stop seeing from icons 8. Okay, all right, let me go back and quickly show you the folder. My bad, guys. Hold on. I think the fault was mine. I think I was only sharing a particular screen and not my entire screen. All right, guys. So this is what I was showing you about icons 8. Icons 8, let me go back and show you. Icons 8 is one of the sites that I use a lot because I can get icons from there. I can get, and I use them in my website design or in my graphic design. I can get illustrations from there, which is what I use it mostly for. And you will see some of the illustrations in actually the slides that I'm showing you for class. You can see some of the illustrations in there. This is where I get it from. I also use icons 8 because with icons 8, you can actually get photos, right? You can actually get photos from there, like stock photos. So say for instance, you want a person in one of your, let me go back and show you the PowerPoint. So this is what I was showing you with my template, my Instagram. What is this? My Instagram template. So this lady, this image I got from Icons 8. This is a PNG transparent background image. I got this from Icons 8. And there are some other images here that I got from Icons 8. So you can get images from Icons 8 as well. So I was showing you that this is one of my tools, but this is my marketing folder. And here's where I have all the marketing resource that I need to help me create content or generate content ideas. So, and this is whether it's for my social media, for my website, etc. This is the folder that I usually come to first. And I forgot to tell you about one important tool in my graphic design bank. But this is basically what it is, guys. And between this folder and my actual tools folder, these are actual tools. And here's a simple one. Here's a simple tool. I'm going to show you quickly. This one is called Change Colors. Now, say for instance, you have an icon. Let me go in my downloads and see if I can find something. Let's use this Nike logo. So for instance, you have a Nike logo, or you have a logo or whatever piece of PNG content, and you want to change the color of it. Now, notice it's black and over here it's white. This is actually white. So I can change it to pink, yellow, any color. I just change the colors here, and I can get the color that I want. This is one of the tools I use. So if I find icons that I want to use for something, but they're black, and I want to change them to yellow, which is my brand color, this is where I come. Here's another one. It's called Tuxpi. And what Tuxpi does is that, say for instance, let's use this image here. So say for instance, I want that kind of fade out look at the on my image. I can just change the color and it kind of fades out the bottom of the image, or I can change it to whichever side. So I can have it south, east, north, west, wherever I want the fade out to happen. And let me tell you how this works in a design. Let me quickly open my Canva. Guys, I'm giving you a content design class here today. But I want to show you how this can be used, right? Here's an example of how this can be used. So this is Digital Jamaica Media Kit. This photo has the same fade out at the back, but because the other rest of the image, the thing is black, I didn't want the photo to take up all of it. I only wanted to have this kind of effect. And let me show you in So you have this effect where it's fading the photo, and then it fades into black, and I can put my text on it. This was a popular design kind of thing that we did. So I was able to use TubeScript, upload it to Canva, and then I've been able to do this. So these are some of the things I've been able to design using Canva. So these are the icons I'm talking about. I could change the color in my color changer. So, or I was showing you about the color picker tool that I use when I want to save my color. So this is the tool, and it is an extension. It's a Chrome extension. It's this one here. It's called Eyedropper. And any page I'm on, if I come across a color, I'm obsessed with colors. So I'm always saving colors, because it always, anytime I see a color, I say, oh, if I was doing this color, would that be nice? So I will just go and pick the color and save it up into my color tool. So when I go to like a Canva, let me go back to that Canva design. So I wanted to change this color from the yellow. I go here, so copy this, right click, copy. Boom, add it in my Canva, instant color. This is a part of my process, guys. And this is why I'm explaining to you about creating your own systems. So this is part of the system. If I go back to this PowerPoint here, so I was saying that, this is a part of my system. Now, this is an old one, and this is something I was able to design in PowerPoint. So I was just showing you some of the things I was able to design in PowerPoint, guys. Right? So this is PowerPoint, as you clearly can see. And so I was able to use PowerPoint, and this was kind of before Canva, and while I was getting to learn Canva, right? So these were some of the things I would design in the PowerPoint. So guys, long story short, coming back to the lesson, you have to learn how to do these things, and then you have to create your own system, and it makes the content process either. But guys, my number one tool is Pinterest. Number one tool is Pinterest, guys, because what I do with Pinterest is, if I want ideas on how to design a piece of content, right? I always turn to Pinterest to see how they're designing content in Pinterest around different things. And then I kind of get an idea about style and font. I'm also very obsessed with fonts, style and fonts and stuff like that, right? So guys, that's what that is. And I kind of went off on a detour. So let's get back on track, because our guest will be here at 11:30. All right, guys. So I'm gonna use Digital Jamaica as an example, because guys, I manage 3 main brands. So Digital Jamaica, Digital Disruption Agency, and Dare, right? And you can see them all here. And there's my page, but I really have not done much with my page, because I ain't got time, okay? And so I have to compartmentalize, because the branding for Digital Jamaica is different from the branding for Dare, different from the branding for DDA. And so I've had to figure out, okay, say for instance, Digital Jamaica, what do I want to talk about with Digital Jamaica? Yeah. And so with Digital Jamaica, I was able to created key terms, and this is how I did it. So these are the broad pillars. So these are the broad pillar topics that I talk about, and this is just 2 of them. There are about 5 to 8 pillar topics on the Digital Jamaica, but this is a sample. So the broad or pillar topics or head key terms or whatever, I use them interchangeably, it's the same thing. It's technology and Jamaicans in tech. So tech and Jamaicans in tech. These are 2 very broad areas, right? But then under those, and don't worry about topic clusters, we're going to talk about that next. Under those, I have digital literacy. I have skills development. I have community, developing the local tech community. I talk about knowledge and information sharing. These are just the subtopics that come under these broad topics that I can talk about. So you realize how endless my topic areas could be, because tech is a broad area. Jamaicans in tech can be very broad as well. And so I have an endless supply of things that I can talk about, because I understand what my content pillars are, and I understand what my key terms are, my head terms. So if somebody's on Instagram, say for instance, and they're searching Jamaicans in tech or Jamaican technology, Digital Jamaica is going to pop up, because that's what I talk about all the time, right? All right, so let's look at how to identify your core brand topics. How do you identify your core brand topics? So you're going to look at your brand area of expertise. You're going to look at your brand USP, which is your unique selling proposition. What makes you special? What makes you different? What makes you stand out from your competition, right? These are some of the things you're going to look at. You're also going to look at frequently asked questions. What are the things that people ask you over and over? Or you can anticipate what those questions are going to be, and then you are answering the questions for the buyer, so it's easier for them to make a decision about, patronizing your business. What is the data telling you when you are posting content? What the data tell you? Which one of your content is better than which other part of your content? What does the data tell you? That's important. Competitor analysis. What is your competition doing that you are not doing, that you probably should be doing? And then how can you do it differently or in a more unique way and attract the audience to you? Or what is missing from the industry? What is your industry not doing? And guys, this is another pro tip. And this is how I think I've been able to really grow Digital Jamaica, especially. I did not focus on local competition, and I don't want you guys to put all your focus on local competition. I want you to think globally, right? Who are the persons globally who are doing the same thing that you are doing? What are they talking about? What are the conversations they're having? What are the programs they're putting out? How are they engaging their community? That's where my inspiration comes from, because it's not going to be happening in the local market for the most part. So I look at what's happening globally, and then I compare that to what's happening locally, and wherever those gaps are, if my brand can fill that gap, I fill that gap. And that's how DARE come along, the Digital Awareness, Readiness, and Engagement Program. That's where that came from, because I realized that there was a gap, because everybody, doing training, and they're talking about digital branding and personal branding and blah, blah, blah. And that's all well and good. That's very important. But who they were talking to? They weren't talking to the disabled community. They weren't talking to the elderly community. They weren't talking to children. Right? But that's a huge gap. Those are huge gaps, because we automatically think they're young, they have access to broadband internet, they have access to devices, so they're automatically literate. No, they are not. And by observation and by having conversation and by watching what's happening in the community, we kind of quickly figured out that our young people are not digitally literate. And so we created the program to what? Fill that gap. It's the same with the pop-up talk shops that I created last year. I realized that you had Jamaicans in the tech space, brilliant, don't know how to market themselves to save them life. Don't know how to, put together a product to save them life. They can build things. Don't get me wrong, they can code up them wazoo. Can't market themselves. And so we had persons coming to us going, hey guys, do you know somebody who can create an app? Or do you know somebody? I was like, yeah, but so-and-so can do this. And they're like, but who is so-and-so? So-and-so is invisible to the public. And the only reason I know about them is because I'm in certain spaces, right? And so I realized that that was happening, and I go, oh, here's another gap we can fill. People to watch is the same thing. I was seeing all these brilliant, fantastic Jamaicans online doing their amazing things online, and nobody was talking about them. And I'm like, here's another gap. That's what I did. I looked at globally what was happening in global space, what was happening in the local space, where the gaps are, and we filled those while staying in our lane, right? And that's what I want you guys to do. Same process I want you guys to do. Don't necessarily be looking at your local competition, because your market should be a global market. You have access to a global market. But not just that, what it also allows you to do is raise your standard to a global level. And that's important. Because just by offering better customer service, just by going what local people think is the extra mile, but is actually standard in other markets, you can really best your competition. And that's what you want to do, right? So let's look at this example from my island, Jamaica. And this is a video. Now, my island, Jamaica is probably one of the most searched Jamaican-based websites. Is my island, Jamaica. And this was intentional. And his websites get more hits than government sites regularly, okay? And so in this video, he went back to his community. I don't remember where the community was. And he was talking to these are ads, have mercy. So he went back to the community and he was talking to somebody in his community who is known for making Jamaica black castor oil. This is what I talk about establishing your authority, showcasing your brand value, answering questions, deepening trust and loyalty so you can get that sale. This is what this video does, and does it brilliantly because this is what he did. Now, remember we said that content was advertorial, posing as editorial. So it's actually an ad, but it looks like a story. This is the definition of that. And so he went back to his community, and in his community, there's this lady, Miss Sally, in the district. I had the distinct pleasure of watching Miss Sally make 100% pure castor oil. So he went back to his community and he spent a day with Miss Sally while she was making Jamaican pure castor oil, right? And in the video, she walked them through all the steps, how she picked the things, how she dried them out on the zinc. Him show you how he go up the hill to go to Miss Sally. She dried them out on the zinc and then she boiled them and at the entire process. And then this is what he did. This is the clever part. How to order. He's selling this. Miss Sally make him castor oil. He's actually selling you something. And you thought it was just a great story. But here's actually says, so in the description, he's telling you how to order 100% pure Jamaican castor oil. Now, remember earlier I was talking about the black hair community and how they're telling you that stuff of castor oil when it don't. What this guy is saying is that I have the original Jamaican castor oil made in a Jamaica by Miss Sally, who grew up making this thing. You cannot get more authentic than that. Now, juxtapose this to a Gucci. Gucci will come and say, here's this skirt with this embroidery and the sequins. And the skirt is 5,000 US dollars. But you have a similar skirt pan a Gap for $20. You're going, okay, why your skirt $5,000? You know what Gucci going to tell you? Italian grandmother sat down and hand sewn this, the finest tailors in Italy with their 100 years of combined experience and rich culture and heritage. That's why it's $5,000. And people understand that intrinsically. You understand that because what does that tell you? It tells you that there's value in this thing. There's value in this. There's cultural value. There's expertise. There's all sorts of value wrapped up in the price of something. And that's why I want you guys to think very carefully about how you're pricing your thing. Because yes, labor is involved for sure, but there's cultural value that's also involved. There's the emotion and the effort that you put in it. That's what we call sweat equity. That's a thing, right? So that is what this guy is doing. Is no different from what Gucci does or any other this high-end brand, right? What they say they're going to get Himalayan salt from the Himalayan mountains and put in the face scrub. And that is why it is $80 as opposed to the one from the value store, which is $10. No different. So this is what I was talking about, guys, about, finding your core brand topics. And what he did was he has an Etsy store where he sells Jamaican products. And what he does is he does all these videos showing you the process of making the product. And this is another reason why people will buy thinking full price, don't ask no question. Miss Sally, they think they're supporting Miss Sally. This is how Miss Sally make her money. And they want to understand the culture because the culture is so interesting to them. They want to hear what she has to say. They want to hear her expertise as somebody who is not a fancy rich person, but an everyday community elder who has perfected her craft. There's value in that, guys. Don't underestimate the value in that. Okay, don't underestimate the value in your expertise and crafting your expertise. All right. So that was one example. So let's look now at what topic clusters are. So topic clusters are and yeah, there are several YouTube channels that will teach you how to do it. But here's another trick why you have YouTubers who have no problem teaching you how they do anything. Here's the trick. You're not going to do it because you're going to realize how hard it is to do it. And you're going to go, this nice. So yeah, well, how much you say was for? Because I'm going to pay you because me not doing this. This too hard. You know what I'm saying? They don't say, I'm something involved. Me just think, all right, you do it. They know you're not going to do it. You don't have the time to sit down and do it. So they have no problem showing you, and they have no problem with other people seeing it either because they can't do what I do. Their process will never be my process. The blueprint is me. I am the blueprint. The blueprint is in my head. This is my system. You can copy my system, but it will never be my system. See? So don't be afraid, guys, to showcase your work because people can copy you, but you're the original. So topic clusters. So remember in the slide before I was talking about your pillar content and your key terms. So what you're going to do is you're going to create what I call topic clusters around your broad topics, your broad key terms or your broad pillars, right? So your beauty brand, one of your pillars could be skincare. One of your pillars could be health, which is related to skincare. One of your pillars could be specific around the type of skincare products you create. One of your pillars could be around being eco-friendly, because that's part and parcel of it, natural ingredients. So these are kind of 5 pillars, right? So say, for instance, you are creating content around eco-friendly ingredients. That's a very broad topic, right? And you want to narrow that topic down to charcoal. Charcoal is an eco-friendly ingredient, and these are the purposes of charcoal. And then you move to, okay, how can you use charcoal for skin blemishes or to smooth your skin? And then you move from skin smoothing secrets using 100% organic ingredients. No, remember, you started with the first thing, which was eco-friendly ingredients. You now have 5 or 6 other areas of content that links back to that main piece of content about eco-friendly ingredients. And you could go on and on and on, but all of those, what I call satellite content, leads back to the main content, which I call the beacon. So the beacon content attracts people to your platform. Ooh, this sounds interesting. Eco-friendly ingredients, all right. And then when you come and I start scrolling through your page now, I'm seeing content about charcoal and blah, 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 and I go down the rabbit hole. If you guys have ever fallen down a rabbit hole, it's because of topic clusters. And nobody does this better than HubSpot. So let me explain quickly what topic clusters is, and I'm going to show you. So topic clusters is when you take one broad topic, and then from that one broad topic, you're creating multiple pieces of smaller, more niche content from that relates back to that broad topic. And what that allows you to do is have people scrolling on your page because they want to see the other things that you're talking about that's related to this. They fall down the rabbit hole. And falling down the rabbit hole means they're going to be staying on your page for a while. Let's look at how HubSpot does it. HubSpot does it with their blog. So this is how to write a blog post, a step-by-step guide. And this is another thing that HubSpot does. HubSpot gives you a free template for everything. You know why? Because you have to sign up for that free template, which means they're collecting your data, which means they have your emails, and nobody will email you more than HubSpot. Jesus, right? So this is how HubSpot did. So you came here because you wanted to know how to write a blog post and you wanted a step-by-step guide. But look here, so now. Search engine optimization, them link an article about search engine optimization. So in the topic about blog posts, I'm telling you that without a blog, you're going to experience a number of problems like poor SEO. All right, cool. Go down further. Then I'm going to say, then I'm going to give you a link to 6 of the most common blog forums. Yeah, that's a separate article from this one, you know. But you notice they're all tagging back to the original article. Download the blog post templates. But let's go further. Free content marketing course. Then I'll give you something else. Creating buyer personas, understanding your audience. That's a part of how to write a blog. Then I'm talking about content management systems and domains and CMS and WordPress. You see, all these things that are highlighted in blue are hyperlinks, which means if I click on it, it's going to take me to another HubSpot article to talk about that particular thing. And then them give me multiple hyperlinks in that one that will take me to something else. And I am in the HubSpot rabbit hole. This is how you do topic clusters, because the topic clusters link back to the original or the main or the broad content pillar or content topic. This is how it is done. And this can also be done on social media as well. You see people do it with carousels. You see them do it with carousels. You also see people do, okay, like for part 1, like for part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, part 6, and because you're now invested in this thing company. Why say this end? This interesting, but right? You're going to keep going back for the different parts of it. Or they can link you to another post that they had made or on a different platform about something similar, and then you're going to go on that post and go, oh, this is interesting, and then say you're back to somewhere else, and you're scrolling on their pages the entire time. And you actually want that, guys. You actually want that. That's actually good, because the longer you can keep them on your page, so the platform rewards you, the algorithms reward you if you can keep people on the page long. Because remember, it's free technically, but it's not free, because what you are doing is, if you're creating content that is keeping your audience on the page, on the platform for longer, it means the platform can sell them more things. They can run more ads. They have more eyes, right? And so that's why it is free to you, because you are generating content for the platform that brings people to the platform and keeps people on the platform. So that's why don't make Instagram and then people, oh, we have the Instagram Creator Fund and the Instagram Creator Program and the TikTok Creator Program. Yes, because I want you to stay on it. YouTube have a whole elaborate creator program, one for Black creators and one for Asian creators. Then want incentivize you to continue make content so people can come look on it so they can sell things. That's all this is, right? All right, so that's what topic clusters are, guys. So do we have any questions before we move on to tools quickly? So guys, this graphic here I got from Icons 8, right? So let's talk about social media plan. What is a social media plan? And I noticed that a lot of you guys were kind of struggling with this a little bit. So this is a tool, and I'm going to show you some of the tools that I have in my arsenal as well. So one of the tools I have, apart from the content creation tools and the design tools, is my plan. You cannot do nothing without a plan. When I say you plan to fail, with no plan you plan to fail or something like that. Okay, so what is a social media plan? A social media plan is a strategy. So if you hear me say plan or if you hear me say strategy, I'm talking about the same thing. But it lays out in some detail how you're going to be using social media to achieve your brand business goals and objectives. Because as I said, a brand or business don't go on social media to be random. You cannot be random. You have to be very deliberate, because there's something that you're trying to achieve. It's not just a regular, ordinary user who go on for show them dinner or whatever. No, you are there to accomplish something. So your social media plan will tell you what in it, you will lay out what you are going to do. It's like a map. It's like you're creating a map, right? So your plan should be flexible, which means because you may think that this is something you should be doing, but then the analytics is telling you, no, girl, not really. So then you have to come back to your social media plan and tweak and tweak and tweak. It should be tweakable, not twerkable, tweak. Okay? And allows for frequent and incremental tweaking for growth. Because guys, what you're going to notice happening on social media is you're going to keep hitting growth walls. So you enter another growth phase and you hit a wall, there's no further you can go with that. So then you have to keep doing more and more and more, or changing it up just a little bit, changing up a little bit. So your content stays fresh and you're continuing to grow, right? So this is what your plan must include. If you are already on social media, you have to do a comprehensive SWOT of a SWOT analysis of your social media platform. You have to know, you have to put in there what your business goals and objectives are. You have to talk about your brand messaging and the tone. So what I say about brand messaging, what do you want people to know about your brand? What's the perception you're trying to build about your brand? And in building that perception, how do you want to sound? If you think about a brand and think about how the brand sounds to you in your head. So let's talk about Nike. What comes to your mind when you hear Nike? You probably hear young, you probably hear athletic. You know, that's the tone. It's how they talk to you. It's how they will type something. Like, for instance, on Digital Jamaica, I may say damn, or I will swear. Like, I will say SHIT or something like that on it. Because it's a more casual, more relaxed kind of environment, right? So I will use slangs and stuff like that because it's a casual. Imagine an NCB. Right? I said, yo, Zimmy. Imagine NCB on them social media. Right? What is the latest Jamaican slang? Imagine NCB as a shout out to the Honorable Brogard. Because him leg out the place or whatever. And now curfew unlock and we are do road. Imagine NCB put something like that in their caption on their page. You're gonna be like, they got hacked. It must be. They got hacked. That's the only explanation. They got hacked, right? So tone is about the words you will use, the imagery you use, and how that comes across to people. Is it a more formal tone, or is it a more casual, more relaxed, more friendly kind of tone, or whatever? And then Karen yesterday talked to you about look and feel, right? You have to talk about your target audience because right? You have to know who you're reaching out to. You also have to identify in your social media plan the communication channels that you're going to be using. So you're going to be using, is it going to be Facebook? Is it going to be Instagram? Is it going to be Twitter? Which one of these platforms are you going to be using? But you also should put in there your main digital platform and how you're going to be using these social media networks to traffic persons to your main platform, because that's the point. That's one of the reasons why you're on there, right? And you also have to talk about, you have to also create within that social media strategy a content and engagement plan, okay? So yes, you're going to be creating content, but how are you going to use that content to attract people? And then when you attract them, how are you going to engage them? How are you incentivizing them to like your content? So this is, I'll give you another example of Digital Jamaica. So one of the ways we incentivize our community, our audience, is that we do free shout outs. So every Friday or weekends or so, most times anyway, we'll do a hashtag on the timeline. And hashtag on the timeline is that we're scrolling through the timeline and looking at our community members who are posting something that they're selling, a product, a service, some accomplishment, whatever is happening with them that we think is cool and interesting, we share it for free, no problem. We tag them in it and we encourage persons to go follow them or go check it out, right? That's a part of our engagement plan. Right? And so we do that, and plus we have our referral program where if we know you're in our community and we know you do X and you're good at X and somebody comes to us and say, hey, you know, we need somebody, we go, oh yeah, check out this person on this platform. That's a part of our engagement plan, right? And of course, it has to have your key KPIs in there, your key performance indicators, how you're going to gauge the success of your platform. What are the metrics that you're going to use to gauge the success of your platform? The next thing is an actual content bank, and we talked about it earlier, I kid you not, is an actual space where I put all the resources that I have. And for me, because I'm slightly disorganized in my mind, I have multiple spaces that I just showed you some of them. But this is a part of your content production strategy, because what it allows you to do is create, okay, this blurb here is not what it's supposed to be. Oops. So let me explain what a content bank is. My bad, guys. So a content bank is really one place that you're putting different pieces of things that are going to go towards your content creation, content production process. So it could be, for me, the tools. It could be some designs. It could be, for instance, I have places on the internet where I go if I want icons, like SVG or PNG repo or SVG repo. I have literal design elements that I would have gotten from some online space that I download and I have on my system, stuff like that. And all that is in one place, right? Then I created this content calendar. What the content calendar does is it kind of gives you an outline of what your post should be across your digital platform. And it tells you when to post what and what type of format that post will take and on which platforms, right? So it helps you to stay on schedule, saves you time, and ensure cohesion, because if there's one thing you don't want, is your brand to look a completely different way on one platform and on one platform, because people are going to go, is this the same people then? That can be annoying, right? The other thing that I have in my arsenal, guys, is my task scheduler that I also created. And what this helps me to do is kind of track my task production, my content, productions. I track my content production. So what the task scheduler does, it creates and tracks your brand's production process. So I created a production process, and that is how I was able to create this task scheduler. So in the task scheduler, you can kind of figure out what my production process is. So the first thing I do is I look at the content type and the format that I want that to take. Then I look at which platform I'm going to be putting that content type on. What is the task type like? What am I going to name the different task types? So what are the different tasks that I need to do to complete this one piece of content? I put them there. Then I put what are the resources that I need to complete this piece of content? When am I going to start creating this content? When is this content to be published, and how much percentage of that content is complete? And if I run into any problems or if there's any issues or anything come up, I make a special note of that. And what I do, guys, I use this as data. This is a part of my data collection process. And so it helps me to continuously refine the process. I continue to refine the process until I think I have a kind of well-oiled machine kind of thing, right? So it also talks about the resources. So in here now, I will put, okay, if I'm trying to create slides for this course, I'm creating slides for this course, I'll put workshop slides, the name of the workshop slides, the platform is going to be Zoom or whatever, task title, okay, research topics, find links, create training material, task resources. So icons 8 will go in here. So I'll also put in there like sort of content sources. I go to HubSpot is one of them that I go to if I want to find out information or just reaffirm or clarify information in my head. I'll go there. When I start publishing, all that. So that is kind of how I would use this to create stuff. And the last thing is scheduler management tools. Now, I personally don't use any scheduler management tools outside of this one here, which is the Creator Studio from Facebook, and I don't even use it that often. And I will tell you why I don't particularly use content management tools. However, if you're a social media manager and you have multiple clients, I think it's a good idea to at least consider investing in a content management tool. All right, so it may be useful because it helps you stay organized and it helps you stay consistent. And what you don't want is a situation where you're supposed to be posting something on client A platform, but you accidentally post on client B. That's a disaster. Okay. So some of the benefits is that it saves time, It automates reporting activities, social listening features. It actually tracks what persons are saying about your brand. You can automate posting, and that's the reason I don't use them. Track which user did what and organize your content in advance, which would be the main reason why I would use a content management tool or scheduling or management tool, because of the organize your content and they post it for you. But I don't like automated posting. And I can tell you why. Automated posting, I feel, takes away one of the advantages that you have, which is early engagement with the persons who are commenting. Because if you are posting your content in advance and you write up your caption and whatever, you put it in there and it automates the posting, and then you're not checking it when it is posted to see who is commenting and then start building that engagement, it will fall off. And then it won't seem like a robot, and you want to put that personality back in there. But if you're using your automated tools properly, then that should be fine. Guys, I want to show you that was the end of our slide, and we're going into tools. And we're going into tools. All right. So I want to show you in your folder, guys, that I have uploaded some resources for you. So let me share my screen again. I've uploaded some resources for you guys. In the training resources, and we're talking about content SWOT, right? So so I created a book. I told you guys about the book, the digital marketing guide. In the book, I have worksheets. This is one of the worksheets, and it's a content audit. And this is part of your SWOTing process, guys. I want you to go in over the holidays, and this is a fillable. So when you download it, you can actually type in stuff in it. Look at your different platforms. I want you to look at social media. I want you to look at the content format that is most popular. Well, this is telling you how much you've shared, most popular content on your socials, total likes, total reach, comment, shares. You can find that in your analytics. And then this is your social media SWOT, right? That you're going to do here. If you have a website, if you have email, it's an entire digital SWOT, right? Where your subscribers coming from, all of that stuff. So this is in your drive. What's also in your drive is this audience mapping tool. Remember we talked about what problem you're solving? That's what we mean by pain point. What are they struggling with? This is also fillable. And you guys can go in and fill about where are they online, what do they do online, what type of content do they share. This is your target audience now. And then you're going to create your personas. And basically what the persona is like you're kind of taking one exemplary member of your target audience, somebody who exemplifies your target audience. And you're going to create a day in the life of that person. It's a narrative that you're building. So it helps you kind of flesh out the person in your mind. Like, okay, so what is their age? What is their occupation? What are their interests? What are their social groups, right? And it kind of helps you. So when you match the persona, your persona should match to this part here. So pain points, etc. And then down the bottom now, you're going to talk about where they are and what they do, blah, blah, blah. Digital competence experience. So how digitally competent are they? Because if you have products that are mainly in the digital space, you need to know how competent your audience is so they can find and use your product. Otherwise, you have to create content to educate your audience. Remember, we said that before as well. And where do they get their information from online? Is it primarily online news, primary search engine? These are things that you need to know. And then this is your persona narrative. So after you've done all of this now, you can put all of this together in a persona narrative, which is like 1 or 2 paragraphs about that person who represents your entire target audience. Then you have the competitor scouting, which is pretty much straightforward. It's kind of the same questions you're going to answer. Who are they? Where are they online? What are their most popular platforms? What type of content they post? What is their most popular content? And then you're going to do a performance assessment on your competitor. So this is also in your resource folder as well. But guys, no, I actually didn't finish. We actually have one more. So Tiana, give me 1 minute. We're going to look at platform distribution real quick, right? So when we're talking about platform distribution, we're talking about where should you be online? Right? That's a difficult one for a lot of people. Some people just All right, I'm gonna go on Instagram because everybody on Instagram. All right, I'm gonna go on Facebook because everybody there Facebook. But there are three questions you should be asking yourself. Where's your audience? How are they using the platform? And what are they doing online? And that's the sheet that I just showed you. Those are the three questions main questions you should be asking. And so Barita, I think, kind of got it right, because Barita is meeting their audience where they are the most. And for surprisingly, it's Instagram. They have a pretty decent following on Instagram, and the engagement is actually very high. But they also have another set of audience who is YouTube people, because it's longer form content that is on YouTube. So you can get more information. So what they do is they take their YouTube videos, they break it up into smaller teaser videos or teaser clips. They put those on Instagram, and then they send people to YouTube to watch the entire thing. Another person who gets it right is Tasty. I think Tasty really has an understanding of who their audience is. And if you look at their different pages, you see that they're having that conversation with their audience, both on YouTube and as well as on their Facebook page. They have an Instagram page, but where Tasty's audience mainly is Facebook. And they're very active on Facebook, not so much on Instagram. JMB too, you'll find that JMB on Facebook is the most active of all their platforms, because they go live on Facebook every Thursday. The engagement is just super high on Facebook for JMB. So these three brands, I think, really understands their audience and have really figured out where their audience is. And that is where you notice they concentrate all their content marketing efforts. And that's something I want you guys to be able to do. Right? But let's look at it, guys. What to consider when you're considering platforms. One, platform function and features. What does this platform do? What can it do for you? What are the features on there, and how can you use those features to attract your audience? That's important. Don't just go on a platform for going on a platform's sake. Even if the platform is popular, it doesn't mean your audience is there. And it doesn't mean it suits your needs. The platform has to suit your needs. And Tiana is here, and Tiana can tell you, Tiana is on Instagram predominantly, but she also has a podcast. But she's now branching out onto TikTok. Right? So you have to be careful where you'll not find her all over the place, right? She's on some very particular platforms because they work for her and the type of content that she produces, which is highly visual content, right? Target audience and where they're frequent online. If you can hone in and figure out where your audience is and where they are most likely to be online, but not only that, when they're most likely to be on that platform, because depending on the time of day, you'll find your audience at a different place. Like Jamaican Twitter is a nighttime kind of thing. Anytime after work hours is when Jamaican Twitter come alive, right? They have spaces now, and everybody has spaces and all sorts of things, excitement going on over there. Then you have LinkedIn that operate within business hours, right? After a certain time, LinkedIn lock off, shut down, door lock, right? And then you have Instagram, which is a 24-hour party house, right? You have TikTok, which is hyper super. This is another universe. It's a different universe altogether over by TikTok, right? So you have to understand your audience throughout the day will switch to different platforms based on time of day and the activities that they know are happening on that platform at the time. You have to identify what those platforms are. What are your business objectives? That's something to consider. So if it's about sales and generating sales and stuff, which is the best platform for you to do that? What are the platforms I have to choose? So for instance, if you have an online store, Instagram have online stores, but it's not available to Jamaicans just yet. Same thing with Facebook. Facebook have a store that's not available to Jamaicans just yet. But if you are a Jamaican living in the States, or if you can get one of your relatives in the States to create the shop for you, you can use the shop here, right? Proud Jamaicans have a shop. He lives in Jamaica. But so there are ways to go around the system, right? And content requirements. What is the type of content that you need to be producing for your platform, and which one of these social media channels is the best place to put that content? That's something else you need to figure out. And then the last thing is, what is the internal resources that are available to you or that will be required so you can do all those other things, especially the content requirements, right? So these are some things to consider, guys. And the last one is content distribution. How are you distributing the content between the platforms? So we're talking about how you're publishing and sharing content across your digital platform. And we know that it can become particularly difficult for you to do that because then you may have multiple products or different services that you offer. And what you don't want to be doing is sharing the same piece of content across all your platforms, because then you're going to run into something we call content fatigue, which can cause your audience to lose interest. So here are some content distribution strategies you can use to implement to keep your content fresh. Now, these are all things I created, guys. So the octopus approach is where you have multiple platforms and you are talking about the different, so say for instance, Nike is the ultimate octopus. Nike has over 10 Instagram pages because you have Nike skateboarding people, you have Nike swimming people, you have Nike running people, you have Nike tennis people, and they have split the Nike brand into multiple profiles, but they're all connected back to the mother brand, which is just Nike. So that's the octopus kind of approach. So multiple platforms where you're talking about different aspects of your brand, and they can do that because they have different types of products. It's all athletics, you know, it's all tied back to the core, which is athleticism, but it's different types of athletics. So somebody who's interested in tennis may not want to be scrolling endlessly to Nike to find a tennis post. They can just go to Nike tennis. Same with people interested in skateboard, football, blah, 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 blah. That's kind of the idea. The other one is a separate but equal approach, where it's a one brand, but you're using the different platforms to talk about different things. And you know who does that very well? Digicel. Digicel does that very well. Depending on which profile you're on, they do share across, but how they share is different. So they will use different imagery on one platform, and even though they're talking about the same thing on a different platform, the image is different, or how they talk about it is slightly different, or they may go into more details on one platform. But that's what we call a separate but equal approach, right? So you have, say you have 4 platforms, it's the one brand, but you're talking about different things on a platform, or you're talking about the same thing in different ways on a platform. And that's kind of what I do for Digital Jamaica. So on LinkedIn, it's buttoned up professional kind of thing. And I'm kind of talking about the professional side of the brand. And then on Instagram, it's a little more fun, more relaxed thing. On Twitter, I'm talking tech. That's kind of how the brand is represented on Twitter. So it's the same brand, but I'm looking at focusing on different aspects of the brand and different platforms. And the last one is the housing approach. And what the housing approach is that I have a main platform, which is my website. And all these other platforms act like satellites. So I will put out a blog post on the website, and then I'll put teaser clips on these other platforms, different pieces of teaser clips. So for instance, I have a podcast, the Digital Jamaica podcast. And I have 4 platforms. And so I'll take 4 different clips from the one podcast episode that I think are really interesting. And these 4 clips are posted on the different platforms based on what I think my audience on that platform wants to hear, or what will attract them to the podcast. So on Instagram, I'll put where we have a lighthearted moment. On LinkedIn, I'll probably put a clip where we're talking about how this person built a business or whatever. On Twitter, I'll probably put a clip where they're talking about how they use tech to do this. So you guys get the idea. Now, guys, all of this is in a blog article that I wrote. I'm going to put the link to the article in the group folder, and it's literally called How to Distribute Your Content Across Social Media, where I go into more detailed explanations and give you examples that you can follow about distribution. And now, guys, without any further ado, I'm going to welcome on stage Tiana. You can unmute and you can turn on your camera. Here she is. Hello.
Hello, Kadia.
So guys, this is Tiana, and you guys have heard me talk about her so many times. As I said to you, she's one of my favorite creators on the internet, period. love the podcast, and she not post a podcast episode in a while.
I
Tiana.
know.
I mean, not sorry because I haven't either. But Tiana,
2022.
talk to you guys about how, as a small creator, as a small influencer, she has been able to attract brand sponsorships and attract collabs and stuff to her platform and kind of grow her brand as a small creator. So Tiana, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Kadia. I'm seeing so many people. Hi, everyone. I'm seeing all the highs in the chats. Hold on. I just want to change this thing so I can see better. Okay. So I don't have a presentation prepared today because, Kadia was like, she really just wants kind of more like a Q&A, kind of more just a little talk, some vibes. So I just decided to, just come and answer any questions that you guys have. But before we get into that, I, obviously will do a brief introduction because I'm sure everybody here does not know who I am. So hello, everyone. My name is Tiana Chung, also known as Wanga Gal. So I guess concerning my journey into food blogging, content creation, I was one of those people who I love food always. From I was a baby, I was a foodie, born foodie. But I never ever really thought that food was like something that I could make a career out of, And so after, high school, I went on to actually pursue a undergraduate degree, a bachelor's of arts in mathematics at Vassar College in Poughkeepsie, New York. Now, during my time at Vassar, they actually really encourage students to spend a semester abroad to kind of like widen your horizons in a sense. And so that happened for me in 2018. And it just so happened that I felt like I was traveling a lot in 2018. I had also recently gotten a new iPhone in 2018. And so during that year, I had, I was based in New York. So I was around New York City. I had gone to Trinidad. I was in Miami for a little bit. I went to Cuba. I also visited St. Croix, which is in the USVI. I came home to Jamaica. And honestly, I really was just taking a lot of pictures on my phone. I was taking a lot of pictures of food, of all the crazy and like delicious food that I was eating and getting to enjoy that year. And I just found myself with like this bank, funny enough, like a content bank really of food photos and food content. And I was just like, let me just start an Instagram. It really was that. There was no intention of I am starting an Instagram page to be a content creator or to be an influencer or anything like that. There was no purpose behind it other than a space to put all of these photos that I was taking. And I remember my sister and I were sitting down over the, winter break, the Christmas holidays, and we were just brainstorming names, and we came up with Wanga Gal, and Wanga Gal was born on January 4, 2019. Yes, it is Wanga as in Wanga goat. It came about kind of because, I felt like I was always a foodie growing up. I was also always on the chubbier side growing up. And so, you always hear the word Wanga goat, not necessarily called to me directly, but, in the sphere of Jamaican society. And I thought, why not kind of like reclaim that? And, I am a girl and I know I wanted it to be Jamaican, but I didn't want it to be like 876 or JA. Like I purposefully didn't want to be specifically, Jamaican in that way, but kind of, almost like an inside joke is what I wanted it to be. And so, yeah, that's how Wanga Gal was born. And in 2019, obviously it really was just my friends who were following me. I had a lot of friends from school, meaning at Vassar, who were very interested in seeing my take on, exploring the Caribbean, because the Caribbean is somewhere that they had never explored before, because, they're Americans. And then I also had a lot of my Jamaican friends who were following me. Then I went to Trinidad and made a lot of Trinidadian friends. And, so that's kind of how it started growing initially. It was really just close friends and family. And in 2019, honestly, it really was just a continuation of me posting things that I was eating. And this was only on Instagram at the time. So throughout 2019 and into 2020, it was kind of just Instagram, because as I said, it was very just like low key. I was still in school in the US. So I didn't really know where Wanga Gal was going or what exactly I was doing. And then I came back home and things just started to pick up. Like, now that I was actually here, I still hadn't hit 1,000 followers yet, but I was just going along. I was just taking pictures with my little iPhone XR, and people started noticing. And by 2020, by March 2020, I believe I did hit that 1,000, that 1K follower mark. And after that happened, it was almost like the floodgates kind of opened in a sense. I had brands reaching out to me to do content creation for them. So it's not just content creation on my page for their brand. It's like me coming on board on their teams to do content creation for them. In 2020 alone, I had the amazing opportunity to partner with Grace Foods. I was on the CB Foods campaign for, the Recover Together, reopening the food and restaurant industry again. I partnered with Caribbean Passion. I partnered with Smart Eggs. I also launched my podcast in 2020. So the reason for launching the podcast really was I love to talk. I love to chat. And it was always a dream of mine. Actually, you can ask my mother if you ever book her up. I always wanted to be on a radio. That was my dream for a very long time. I actually even briefly had a radio show in New York for maybe half a year or so, or maybe a year. Yeah, about a year. And so that was my dream. And then I came back to Jamaica, and I didn't know if I wanted to go onto the Jamaican radio space. And then, I realized that podcasts were really taking off. A lot of my friends were now getting into podcasts. And I was like, why not just get into podcasts? And that way I could at least talk about something that I really like, which was food. So I kind of roped in my best friend, Ashley Nesbeth, and we just started this podcast. And we actually, where's the phone? This is the famous iPhone XR. And this is where we recorded all of season 1 on this phone right here. We just hooked up a little mic into the phone, and we recorded all of season 1 and some of season 2, even on my phone. And all the editing is me, all the graphics is me. I really and truly, I don't know where I found the time, but I really love the podcast. And to see the majority of the promotion for the podcast was done on Instagram, because as I said, at this point, I was really just still on Instagram. And the response that we got was crazy. People were really, really interested. The first episode, I think as of right now, has maybe over 500 unique listens. And still growing. We, as Katie allowed me up, we have been on a little hiatus because life has gotten a bit real, but season 3 is coming in 2022. So in the meantime, if you've never heard about it, Wanga Gal the podcast, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts. You were also on YouTube. Give us a listen for season 1 and 2. It's really good. And we also, sometime in 2020, I believe, or no, the beginning of 2021, ended up, we are the number 1 foods and arts podcast in Jamaica. We are also, for some strange reason, the number 23 food podcast in South Africa. We have listeners from all over the world, places that I did not even know would be interested in conversations about Jamaican and Caribbean food. We have listeners in Russia. Obviously, we have listeners all over the Caribbean, St. Lucia, Barbados, Bahamas, Trinidad, but we also have people in India, in Pakistan, in Jordan, in Morocco, in the UAE, in Australia. People from all over tune in to really listen to me and my best friend chat about food, really and truly. And so it has been super fulfilling doing the podcast, because I think it opens up even more space to have conversations. Because I think as I started to kind of refine what Wanga Gal was for me, I think I've definitely realized that, food photography is something that I want to do. And so I do now identify myself as a food photographer. And so that kind of feeds my visual content creation. So I also do stuff for brands. They'll hire me as their food photographer. But I also, in the grand scheme of things, I just see someone said, of course, food brings us together. That's it. It really does bring us together. It's like that one common thing, like we all have to eat, and we all enjoy and like food, and we also all dislike some foods together. And so I realized I really wanted to just broaden the conversation. I didn't want Wanga Gal to just be, oh, look at what I'm eating. I wanted people to join in the conversation. And of course, it started on my Instagram story. If you follow me at Wanga Gal on Instagram, I do IG stories a lot. I have a little series, very impromptu, like sporadic series called Stirring the Pot, where I'll talk about just things going on in the food landscape, whether in Jamaica or things that I see on like trending on social media. And I will invite my followers to join in on the conversation, like what do they think, open a little Q&A stuff. And then that kind of extends even further into the podcast, because one of the most heartwarming things for me is posting an episode and having people come to me after, and they're like, oh my gosh, I never thought about food in this way before. I never thought about trying this food before. I never thought about how deep, because one thing for me is not just food and not just visual food, but it's also food culture and food history, and bridging those gaps in conversations about food that I feel like as just people we don't have often enough. Like food is way more than food. Food is way more than nourishment. It means so much. And I think the more that you learn about your food, meaning where it's coming from, not just from the soil, but where it's coming from, like as a people, as a history, as a nation, I think you're able to appreciate every bite just a little bit more. And so that's kind of my overall objective. As it relates to content, in 2021, I have expanded to include Twitter and TikTok. I have just come to note that I don't think YouTube is 100% for me right now. The long form editing video content it's a lot. And given that I do have the podcast that's doing very well, as of right now, I'm kind of a one-woman show with little help from friends and family, but it's the majority me. And so I started out on YouTube and it just got draining very quickly. And then TikTok came about, and it's short form video and it's really fun. And so I decided to go on TikTok because, as Kadia said, food content creation is very, very visual. And as much as pictures can be so appetizing, I think it's even more appetizing when it's a video. So going into like short form video on TikTok has been really fun for me. And that's what it is. Wanga Gal for me is fun. I don't try to consider it as work. Because I don't want it to be work. I want it to be that thing that I enjoy, because I don't do Wanga Gal full time. I have a job. I'm actually a social media manager. I'm also a copywriter for a couple of brands. So I don't have, the energy always to put into Wanga Gal, but having shorter forms of content is pretty easy. Twitter is also fun sometimes. I try not to be too controversial because I don't think that's my speed either, but I do tend to post things. I'm more selective about what I post on Twitter, just because of the potentially volatile nature that is over there. But I do post things that tend to perform pretty well on Instagram. I'll carry them over to Twitter. If I'm also pushing a giveaway or a competition, or one or two times I will sell a limited edition product. I'll push that on Twitter, but Twitter is not my main, bread and butter in content creation. But yeah, LinkedIn is a bit too serious for me as where I am right now. I'm not an avid Snapchat user. So as of right now, it really is just Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And of course, my podcast, which you can find on streaming platforms. And so, yeah, that's kind of the story of Wanga Yell. And yeah, so I guess we can open the floor to some questions.
Yes, that was an awesome review, guys. And Tiana is very modest, but I can tell you her content is bomb. Her photography is bomb. And I love the part when she goes into the bush to go take the picture of the food. Love it.
Yes.
And I particularly love her TikToks because I've discovered a couple new eating spots from Tiana through her TikToks and her TikTok date when she show off her dates in different places. Like, okay, yeah, you have a boyfriend, so what restaurant is this again?
Yes, my boyfriend.
All right, guys. So if you want to ask questions, guys, we're gonna be organized about it. We're not gonna ask questions in the chat. We're gonna use the raise hand feature, just so we can stay organized, please, guys. So Jackson, I'm going to take your question, but after Jackson, guys, if you want to ask a question about equipment and tools and stuff that I see you guys talking about, please use the raise hand feature. So Jackson says, Tiana, what tools do you use to organize your content, if any?
Okay, great question.
And you can talk for Wanga Girl as well as for your content, because guys, as Tiana said, she is a social media manager.
Yeah. Yeah. So for Wanga Gal, honestly, I tend to use, as it comes to organization, I personally plan my content using the old paper and pen, but that is just me. I just like writing things down. But as it relates to like automated posts and stuff like that, I do use later.com. Later does have a free version that allows for auto scheduling. But for some other clients, I have convinced them to use Later as well. And of course, they use the paid version. So the paid version allows for a little bit more of the analytics, and it allows for putting that first comment. So rather than putting the hashtags in the post, you can put the hashtags in that first comment. And of course, you have like different tiers. So of course, there's a beginning paid tier, which is kind of just for like starters and small businesses. And then of course, if you're doing something for like a huge corporation that needs a little bit more fine tuning, a little bit more analytics, a little bit more organization, then of course they have that. I'm also familiar with Hootsuite because one of my clients actually used Hootsuite before I came on board, and they were like, that's what they're using, that's what they love. So of course I had to learn how to use that, and I actually really do like Hootsuite. The unfortunate thing is that I'm not even sure if they have a free version, but if they do have a free version, it is nothing compared to the paid version. So it is a bit costly, but it's one of those things that you pay for the quality. And so I do use Hootsuite. I am familiar with Later. I also am familiar with Planoly, which is really nice because if your client is a very visual client, for example, if you've ever seen like the Jamaica, these are not brands I work for, but like Jamaica Food and Drink, festival or the rum festival, if you look on their Instagram feeds, where it's very like the each feed post kind of flows into one another. Planoly is really good for doing that because they actually allow you to schedule, and like they give you like a little preview of the feed. So you're able to kind of have more control over the cohesive visual feel of your feed with Planoly. And so, yeah, those are the 3 or 4 that I'm familiar with. And I like all of them. I think they each have their weakness and their strengths.
Dennis,
And
raise your hand, please. Oh, no, guys, Q&A, use the raise hand feature, please, please. All right, so Shanique, you're up. You've had your hand up a long time. What do you want to ask Tiana? You can go ahead.
No, that was from in your session when I was answering the question.
Oh, so anything for Tiana?
No, not at this moment.
Okay, all right. Danette Mason, go ahead. Danette? All right. Danette, don't want to talk. Velton, go ahead.
Okay. Hello. Good afternoon, everybody.
Hi, Velton. Hi, good afternoon, Velton.
Yes. So I'm curious with regards to how to go about establishing the brand in such a way that it attracts the interest of brands, in the sense that they would look at you as a micro content creator and be like, I'd like to partner with you, or I'd like to have you showcase my stuff, or anything to that extent. Just how you ended up, or some of the things you believe that as a small content creator somebody could do, or growing content creator somebody could do to attract that kind of attention.
Velton, all you need to do is get them on the phone and talk to them there.
Yeah, that's true. Networking is really, really, really important. I would say super, super important. But also just some other little tidbits. I think branding is really important. So if you have decided that you want to be a content creator, there are just certain things that I feel like you should have set in stone from the get-go. For example, my little logo, my sister actually created that logo in Canva. And yeah, so we created a logo from like the get-go. I knew that I wanted that color. You know, I almost always refer to myself as Wanga Gal. So it's just kind of like really pushing that brand, that particular brand that I have, you know, really tried to create for myself. Another thing is to, for example, like, I think a lot of people, when they try to get into content creation in the early days, especially, and even like for me now, like I still am considered like a nano influencer. And it's just not everything that you do has to be paid. And I don't want to say that in that you should sell yourself short. But for me, a lot of the things that I did initially, brands didn't even reach out to me. I just, you know, like I would see a brand putting out a new product, and I personally was really excited about the product. And I just posted it on my Instagram and I tagged them. I made sure to tag them. And more often than not, they would reach out to me and either offer me something, whether it be a free gift basket, or they want to pay me to do some sort of activation for them, or they want to partner with me in some other way. So it's kind of just, I guess, having a true enough interest in the niche that you decide to create content for, so that it doesn't feel like you have to be paid to do something. And I think that's a really, really good way to kind of start out and put yourself in front of the brands. Because yes, I do agree that making a phone call is great, but sometimes you'll make a phone call and these people really don't know who you are. And so of course you have to try and sell yourself. Whereas I find, especially with my particular niche of content creation, I can't say the same for every other niche, but I just let my food photography speak for itself in a sense. So I will take photos without someone partnering with me, and I'll just post it and tag them, and that way they will know, okay, this girl is good. Let's hire her for the next one, kind of thing, you know? So yeah, so I would say brand yourself really strongly and really firmly. Love what you do, love your content, so that it doesn't feel like you have to be paid to do it. And just be organic about it, be authentic always, and network. Yeah, that's what I would say to answer that question.
All right, thanks, Milton. Next is 10. Miss Watson, is it Tensia?
It's Tanisha. Tanisha, actually. It's Tanisha.
Oh,
I know
okay.
it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny how my name so that it's pronounced. It's
Okay.
all between my mom and my nurse and the nurse at the time. So yeah, it's kind of funny. But to Tiana, I love your content on your page.
Thank you.
So my thing is, as a social media manager, right? I want to know, because I've had this question for a while and I really wanted to ask somebody. I think I found the perfect person to ask. For your content, how effective has hashtags been? Because I am working with some persons to, you know, put their content out there because we want persons to know what their content is about. But to find the perfect niche with the hashtags is kind of hard. So I want to know how, on your side, how effective has your hashtags been?
Okay, so, and I will answer this from a social media manager perspective, right? So hashtag strategy is called hashtag strategy for a reason. There's no one size fit all as it relates to hashtagging. Some clients that I have, they literally only use one hashtag, and it's their brand name. And that's because they have a very, very, very robust ad spend. And so they kind of feel like they don't need the clutter of hashtagging, because hashtagging can kind of, in a lot of senses, in a lot of ways, ruin the aesthetic of your posts on Instagram. And so I think if you have a brand that is relatively well known and has a very robust ad spend, I don't think that you have to be too detailed and go so hard on the hashtagging. However, if you have a brand, if you're working with a brand, for example, that, a small business doesn't really push as many ads as you would maybe like, I think hashtagging can be really, really helpful as long as it's done the right way. And by the right way, I don't mean just doing random hashtags that you think relate to the post. There's actually a bit of a science behind it. So it's like, I cannot remember the formula right now, but I think it's like five things specifically related to your brand, 5 hashtags specifically related to your industry, and then 5 hashtags specifically related to that post. Yes, I believe that is the current equation.
Yeah, and then geotags.
Yeah. So, and I think one of the things that a lot of people do that does not work to your advantage is just slapping the same hashtags on every single post. I know a lot of people will just have like a set list of hashtags for a particular brand, and then they just copy and paste every time. And that, as I'm seeing Vanessa say, that you can end up shadow banned that way. It also is something, I think hashtag strategy is a living, breathing thing. So it should change as time passes. It should change as social media trends change. It should change as, your follower count grows. It should change, you should constantly be looking at the stats who is your content reaching the most? Is it males? Is it females? Is it people within a certain age range? Is it people within a certain region? You know, and then think about, okay, how to tailor the hashtags to either reach those people more or to reach out to people who you haven't, who you want to reach out but are not reaching out to. And so, yeah, it's something that I think there is a science to it. It's not just willy-nilly. And as I said, it should always kind of be changing. I think as of right now, I think I read an article about a month ago that said no more than 15 hashtags. Anything over,
those articles will drive you crazy.
Yeah, I know they will drive you crazy, but it was somebody that was saying with Instagram's newest updates, anything over 15 hashtags, well, 8 to 15 hashtags will overwhelm the algorithm and kind of negate all of your hashtagging.
Hashtag is an art. It's a science.
It's an art. Trust me. There are in America, you will have social media managers that only do hashtagging.
It's only in Jamaica. Tiana was telling them it's only in Jamaica where your social media managers, your content creator is your hashtag person, is your researcher, is your graphic designer. That only happens in Jamaica. So amazing. One quick question. Kimika says, what's the purpose of hashtag? The purpose of hashtag is so that people can find your content. It's a meta tag, and meta tags, what they do is they group like contents into one space so that that particular content is easier to find. And in the nutshell, that's what hashtag is. But come January, we're going to deep dive hashtags, so don't worry about it. All right. So next question is from, let's take Khalil. Khalil, what's the question? Hashtags is not a geographical thing. Hashtags are just effective because you're using social media platforms that are not Jamaican based.
Yeah.
Social media platforms are not, probably, they didn't even build it with us in mind. So this is a function of the platform. This is one of the features of the platform. Okay. And hashtag is actually how people actually search and find a brand or a product or a service. And so that can be very important as well. Go ahead, Khalil.
Guys,
we have 8 minutes, so let's go quickly, please.
So my question was related to you being a social media manager. I was wondering how you fell into that job niche. Was it through Wangagut and then businesses reaching out to you and then those businesses saying, hey, can you manage your content in totality? And if that was the case, or regardless of how you reached there, how was it starting as a social media manager and reaching like different brands instead of from 1 and then 2 and then 3? Was it word of mouth? Did you promote as such? Just in that context.
Yeah, sure. So when I came back to Jamaica after my math degree, I think I pretty much knew that I was not going in any direction of math, unfortunately.
Me sitting over here looking at you with my law degree, like, girl, I understand.
It's a thing, you know? And so it was a case where I started working for someone in a very part-time capacity, and they had a social media manager that needed help. And so I was just like, I have time. I would love to learn. At the time I really wanted to learn more about copywriting. And so it was kind of like they were looking for assistance with social media management and copywriting. So I guess I was kind of under that person's tutelage for a while. I still kind of am. We still have a relationship. But that's kind of where I think my foundation in social media management started. However, when it came on to getting my own clients, that was, funny enough, I've been so privileged, I think, and blessed. I wouldn't even call it lucky, just blessed to be able to have Wanga Gal reach so many places, because almost all of my clients, my independent clients, are a direct result of Wanga Gal.
Because the content is fire.
Yeah, thank you. And
done.
And it was like they wanted help and they just saw me and they didn't know who else to go to. They didn't want an agency because they either had a bad bad experience with an agency before and didn't want to go back that route, or they're a small business and didn't think that they could foot the whole agency bill. And so that's kind of how they came to me. And then one of my most recent client, actually, it was kind of word of mouth in that way, in that one of my clients that I got directly from Wanga Gal they were in conversation about social media for their company, and so she kind of recommended me, and then I got that account. So yeah, it was a lot of Wanga Gal really helped me, and with word of mouth. And as I said, I'm just really privileged and blessed in that way. It's not going to work that way for everybody. Putting yourself out there, I think, is really important. I haven't had to do much of that, but I can't say that that's a universal thing. So yes.
Guys, she's being modest. Our content is good. She takes really good pictures. She knows how to put a platform together, and she makes sense when she talks. That's really what the trick is, because there's no school that you go to learn this, guys. And sometimes you have persons who learn marketing, but they actually don't dedicate a lot of what they teach in marketing to social or digital marketing. And so you find your marketers in companies are struggling because they don't understand digital. And here you have a person like Tiana who clearly understands digital space, who is, curating in the digital space, creating content in the digital space. And it seems like it makes more sense to go to somebody who has a track record. Because guys, this is another thing. Your profile acts as a record, a portfolio of your work, right? So it is, if I can go and I look at her portfolio and I see that she takes really amazing pictures and me want really amazing pictures, it's a no-brainer. All right, Danette, you next. And guys, we have 4 minutes, so we're only going to take 2 more questions.
First of all, let me say, me nervous bad, because my heart over here beat, because me get to talk to the good Wanga girl. As a fellow food photographer, I'm upcoming, and I just want to say I admire your work.
Thank
you.
You
are on point. Big ups you. Like, girl, you don't even understand how I'm over here nervous. Lord. Okay. What I want to ask you, well, not really ask, but I want you to tell me, like, give me some advice as an upcoming food photographer. I worked on That's Called JA food photography for them, and that was amazing. Working with ice cream was very hard, but I survived. But in terms of everything else, in terms of content and all of that, like, I just want some advice as a food photographer from a fellow food photographer, because girl, your thing shot.
Got you. Okay, so my advice for any, not even just food photography on a whole, is what I have done with my personal Instagram, I think, is if you go on my explore page, it's all food pictures, not my food pictures, other people's food pictures. And so I've kind of curated it in a way where I am constantly, I think, being inspired by other food photographers all over the world. And so I think that keeps me on my toes. I will be like, even on TikTok, I also have curated my TikTok in that way, in a sense. I mean, I feel like at this point I'm a little bit just obsessed with food photography. And so I'm always looking for new ways, new concepts, new ideas, new content ideas. And so like I will see something, like someone else will produce a photo, a piece of content, and I will say, oh my God, like I want to try that. And, so I go in and I will try it myself. I'll maybe switch it up. If it's something that is composed a certain way, maybe I will try to take a photo that's composed that way, but maybe with like a different product, maybe like a local product in the mix or something like that, So I'm kind of always looking to draw inspiration from other food photographers. And I mean, they don't have to be international. Jamaican food photographers are amazing. And so I think it's just creating a space for yourself to literally constantly be inspired. I also think that I can tell, like, just from my personal experience, the minute I bought a DSLR camera, like I feel like everything shot up for me in terms of the quality of my work went up. Not saying the quality was bad before, but I think it went up a little bit by some notches, and that was noticed by brands. And I definitely have gotten more work as a food photographer since investing in a DSLR camera, and investing in like a light, investing in some backdrops, and you know, just investing in some more equipment. And I know that's not something that everybody can do right now. And of course, like, make do with what you have. Like, you can be a food photographer with a smartphone, you know. But just always think of it, if you love it, just think of it as an investment and work towards it, you know. So yeah, so just always be inspired, constantly try to level up yourself, constantly try to invest in new things. Right now, I really want a 100mm lens, but they cost like $1,000 and I can't make that investment right now. But like, you know, that's my next goal, you know. It's like, at one point my goal was a DSLR, I got it. Now I really want another lens, and I'm going to get it. I invested in Lightroom and Photoshop, and, you know, spend time learning those things. It's really good to learn those things because, like, for instance, I had one campaign where I took a photo and they were like, oh my God, we really love this photo, but like, we can't have that cheese because it's not our cheese. And I was able to, rather than reshoot the whole thing, I just went into Photoshop and I just removed the cheese. And, you know, so it's as I said, just always think of it as an investment, and always try to level up yourself. And yeah, put yourself out there. As I said, your content will always speak for itself, especially with food photography and with food content, because as Katie said, it's so visual that you really don't even need words. Like, once you have a fire food photo, like, people will just start drooling. It's one of those kind of great niches in that way. So I hope that helped. And of course, if you have any more, like, if you want any more like detailed questions, like, hit me up in my DMs.
We can bring Tiana back, guys. We can bring Tiana back. She's very responsive in our DMs as well. The last question goes to Kemar. Kemar, you get the last question. Kemar, we're not hearing you. Kemar, we're not hearing you at all. All right. Kemar, sort out your mic. Michelle McDonald. Michelle?
Hello. Yes, hi everyone.
Hi,
Michelle. It's really great. I follow you, by the way, and I think your content is awesome.
Thank you.
And what I wanted to ask you, though, as a creative, is going live. I've tried to go live a few times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you how effective do you think live is, going live is to grow an audience? Because sometimes I feel like I'm talking to cricket.
Before you answer that, Tiana, guys, the group that we'll be presenting today, group 1, group 8, group 15, group 18, and group 20. So that's group 1, group 8, group 15, group 18, and group 20. Get ready to present after this. Thanks. Sorry, Tiana.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so I will be very honest. I hate Instagram lives, but that's a personal preference. I think Instagram lives are, I think a lot of people, you have like that sector of Instagram that like can just go live anytime, any day, like sporadically, and like people will just hop on their live. And I think you have to be a certain level of Instagram influencer to be on that level. I find that those kind of lives are, I would say, relegated for the celebrity type influencer, where people are just so interested that them just going live will immediately stop the world and all of their followers are gonna go on. As for people who are not at that level yet, I think if you want to do Instagram lives, you have to make an event out of it. Don't just be like, I'm gonna randomly go on live today, or don't just hop on your story and be like, I'm going live at 6 p.m. See you there. No, like hype it up for all a week before.
Yeah, do that.
Just make, and then you know what too, social media in general, there is truly no one size fits all. And for example, when I was with my Instagram story series stirring the pot, I did ask your followers what they want. Do they want live or do they want story? Because I remember when I was doing with stirring the pot, I thought to myself, would they prefer this on live so that they could, interact with me in real time? And rather than just making the switch to live, I just did a story post and I just asked them, would you rather me go live or would you rather me stay on IG story? And not surprisingly, but it was an overwhelming IG story. They wanted the opportunity to be able to get things in smaller tidbits, to replay things that they missed, to be able to ask more detailed questions in the little question boxes. So find out maybe what your followers want. If you realize that your lives are either not getting the traction that you want, or if you feel like people are just coming into your lives to be super critical and negative, maybe lives just aren't for you. And that's 100% okay. As I said, I know lives are not for me. I have never gone live. I don't know if I will ever go live. So just play around with the different features of each social media platform and just decide what works for you and your audience. Not just for what works for you, but you have to also think about your audience as well, because they may just not like you going live, and that's also okay. You have to just pivot.
You guys remember we said that good content is what your audience says it is at the time they say it is. Yes, so your audience dictates that for you. Tiana, thank you so much. I know we have a ton more questions, but guys, we'll invite Tiana back in January to answer some more of your questions. And at that time, we'll probably just do a Q&A at that time, because there's a wealth of information I know she has that she could share, especially because she's also a social media manager, and that's what you guys are studying. All right. So Tiana, thank you so much. Guys, please go and follow Tiana. What's your name on TikTok? Is it still Wanga Gal?
It is Wanga Gal. It's Wanga Gal everywhere. Branding.
Wanga Gal everywhere.
It's Wanga Gal everywhere.
All right, awesome. Tiana, before you go, can you just drop your links in the chat?
Yes, I will.
All right, you can stop sharing your camera now. Thank you so much.